Josh Heupel very clearly believes in his secondary more than he ever has. And it's because of what he said and when he said it, despite how vague it was. And here's what I mean by that. Josh Heupel said this is the deepest we've been since I've been here when asked directly about the secondary. Guys, that's a huge underrated thing. Heupel very clearly, without letting it out, is very happy about the retooling of the secondary. It's worked against Tennessee football in the analytics, PFF, SP Plus, and things like that because they lost everybody, and loss of starters hurts you. I've always said that loss of starters only hurts if your starters are good or help with chemistry. That secondary last year did help with chemistry, but they weren't that good. Largely, they were hurt. So, Tennessee has they have Ricky Gibson III and getting more experience now, but they brought in Jalen McMurray, Jacoby Thomas, Jalen McMurray, and Jermon McCoy out of MTSU, Temple, and Oregon State. They went straight for veteran leadership. They forced a lot of guys into the transfer portal, most notably Wesley Walker. And it does seem like, I said at the time, they were getting better with it. Josh Heupel has said this is the deepest team in the past. He said all the coach speak and all the positive things, but he was raving about the secondary in the coach speak. And then he said this is the deepest team we've got since I've been here, specifically when asked about the secondary. Leading me to believe is he finally has options in the secondary, options that he wants. Now, you want to ask the question, is it the same with the offensive line? Because that's a big question with left guard. And nobody did ask about the offensive line, which kind of is a bit of a red flag because to me, that's the biggest question on the offensive side of the ball. He was asked about running back and touted Dylan Sampson. Gave coach speak, though. I don't think Dylan Sampson is going to be the feature back. I don't know. And I do think it stands out that Dylan Sampson is being considered a leader. But yes, with those three transfers, and as Sean Bledsoe notes, he is very happy to have Boo. You're right, Boo Carter. I think Heupel realizes he's got better weapons and he's got more depth. So I think the depth part is the addition of the three transfers. Jermon McCoy, Jacoby Thomas, Jalen McMurray. McCoy and McMurray are both cornerbacks. Thomas is a safety. Boo Carter is a potentially transcendently great safety who could start as a freshman like Eric Berry and be a freshman All-American. Then you have Ricky Gibson III, who showed a lot of promise down the stretch of last year, who's probably going to be very good this year. Jordan Matthews, I still believe in. There's other veterans, Jordan Thomas and Christian Harrison. They understand the game very well. I think they're very smart players, and they could be used a little more. They were young last year. I think the combination of those guys, and if Andre Turrentine has flipped a switch, there should be a lot of excitement over what the secondary could be. Again, with Josh Heupel, coach speak, he's the king of saying nothing. And typically, you're not going to get anything from Josh Heupel. But he let that slip, guys. He let that slip that he loves the secondary. And that wasn't by accident. As a result, I think I can safely say Josh Heupel loves the secondary. And I think that's a great sign for Tennessee going forward. I think that adds to the allure that maybe you should expect them to potentially win the national title. They'd have been in the college football playoff if the secondary was up to snuff last year. So that is very intriguing. As far as the offensive line goes, Derek Owen says he read an article on Lance Hurd and Brian Kelly, I'm guessing is who you're referring to. And Kelly saying they replaced Lance Hurd with a better player, that he wasn't a scheme fit. Well, Lance Hurd did transfer because LSU has, I think, the best left tackle in the country coming up this year. And Hurd wanted to play specifically left tackle. That's why he transferred to Tennessee. Doesn't mean Hurd's not good. Doesn't mean Tennessee is hurting with Hurd, though. They're still in great shape. Sean Bledsoe says Sampson is a guy who will get a lot of reps, but he expects a younger guy to blow up immediately and take it, kind of like Gray did years ago. Eric Gray, yes, the Pruitt money, probably the poster boy for the Pruitt money and Chick-fil-A bags. I think Dylan Sampson will be a playmaker, but I do think they need a feature back. And again, as of right now, I think Peyton Lewis is the only guy that can do it. Khalifa Keith can pick up blocking. He's a physical, will get back and be a short yardage guy, but he's not a big play threat. Your feature back has to be a guy who's a big play threat, can also pick up pass blocking, and can also get you those typical 4 to 5 yard runs on handoffs. Dylan Sampson is not just a big play threat. He's a big play guy. And he can get those 4 to 5 yard runs, but his pass blocking is atrocious. That hurts the offense. Khalifa Keith is a 4 to 5 yard guy, picks up pass blocking, can get you the 1 yard you need, but he can't break off the big play. That creates problems. So the takeaway of Josh Heupel's press conference, having said nothing, as we expected him to say nothing, didn't give away anything. He is the king of that. I always say if you ask the right question, you can still glean something from it. And Josh Heupel let slip indirectly that he's in love with the improvements made by the secondary. That is the story of this. For him to say this is the deepest team he's had since he's been here, when asked a question directly about the secondary and rave about the play of the secondary, that means that you should be excited about the improvement that has been made by the secondary. I think that's a big deal for Tennessee going forward. I think Josh Heupel and Tim Banks have finally got the roster they needed. And hey, maybe Willie Martinez is the guy. Look, remember, the secondary was where they took the biggest hit. I want to point this out. When Jeremy Pruitt left, the secondary was where they took the biggest hit. So many guys left. Josh Heupel really had a makeshift secondary unit, and he's really been chasing his tail trying to get it back up to snuff for the past 3 years. I don't know if it's up to snuff this year, but I think it could be better than it has been. And he's had some bad luck along the way. I mean, Trey Flowers getting hurt in 2022 and playing with injuries. Jalen McCullough getting indicted because he punched a guy who broke into his own apartment and wouldn't leave. I still can't believe he got indicted for that. It's one of the stupidest things ever done. But the combination of those two things, look, I have to be honest that I think Josh Heupel has been playing with the deck stacked against him with the secondary. I think all he wanted to do was have the secondary be average. You know, you don't have to do the whole Derek Dooley thing. Derek Dooley once said, if you're going to win, you got to be good at everything in the SEC. That's what a coach says when they don't know ball and they don't know what they're going to try to do for their team. You don't have to be good at everything. You just can't be bad at anything. And I think Tennessee finally, and Heupel thinks they have the secondary finally to not be bad, and they have a couple of good players. Gibson and Carter, Ricky Gibson and Boo Carter are potential stars. Jalen McMurray and Jamal McCoy are veterans and experienced players. And again, Jacoby Thomas is also an experienced player at safety. So I think that Tennessee has a rotation now of starters. And they have depth of guys who should be able to play based on the recruiting that has been done. So I am relatively high on the secondary. I was cautiously optimistic about them going into the season. I'm now much higher on them because of what was said. So keep in mind what's said on that. Pay attention going forward. That was a huge comment by Josh Heupel right there. Quote, the deepest since I've been here, when asked directly about the secondary. He may have said it about the team overall, but he meant it about the defensive backs. And all that means is that Josh Heupel is extremely high on how much better the defensive backs can be this year. My prediction for the starting lineup is going to be Ricky Gibson at one cornerback and Jamal McCoy at the other cornerback, Boo Carter at strong safety, Jacoby Thomas at free safety, Jalen McMurray at nickel. I think that's where they're going to go. And I also think that you're going to see Christian Harrison and Jordan Thomas get experience at safety, Andre Turrentine be the backup at nickel, and the third cornerback after those guys will be Jordan Matthews. I think this is going to be a great combination of players, and Tennessee should be excited.